Welcome back to Momentous Struggle, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast. On today's episode, Aubrey and I are going to take a look at the finally released Mission Pack number 2, Sabotage Showdown. So let's go ahead and jump into it. As always, I'm joined with Aubrey. How we doing?
I am. I'm having an interesting day, Todd. We were talking about it. All nothing bad. I'm okay, everybody. But Sunday morning has already been eventful. How are you?
Good. Yeah, it's been a busy weekend. Like with my 13-year-old has decided to start dating, and finally, and she, her and two other couples were at the mall yesterday, and then had another my 17-year-old's friend had a friend sleep over last night. So it's just been a crazy day. Like Colleen, my wife, she's been very busy running kids all over the place all day yesterday, and she is pretty done. So yeah, we're good to go.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I could share a little more. Yeah. No. I had the 19-year-old. Oh God, that sounds old. The 19-year-old broke up with their boyfriend.
Oh no.
And then he broke up with the 19-year-old. Anyway, whatever. They had a platonic sleepover last night.
Okay.
For those of you who are listening to the podcast, I have an interesting expression on my face. So, yeah, so there's been a lot of tears and working through it and discussions of societal expectations as you go from lovers to friends. So let's talk about some Shatterpoint, huh?
Let's do that. That sounds more exciting, I'm sure. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot going on. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to try out the new mission pack yet? I know I've done some testing of it on TTS just to kind of get a feel for it. So because it's been on TTS for a little while now, because I think this actually released outside of the US like last week, I believe, but so it's been on TTS for a little while. So I've done a little bit of testing there, but have you had a chance to do any testing?
So the 14-year-old, I don't know why I'm testing their ages today. Do I actually know how old they are? And I actually got in a game yesterday. I wanted to both test the pack and test out a slightly different configuration of the Night Sisters squad that I have. And so it took us a while. We were both moving kind of slow, and he hadn't played in a while, so he was making a lot of decision time because I made him play the squad that I think I want to play in our premiere showdown next week. I'm thinking Dooku Ahsoka with the Separatists,
Nice.
with all the battle droids, all the usual suspects. And so I was kind of like double dipping. I wanted to see how that list played against my list so that I could get a little bit more of a feel for it, because I haven't played with Separatists as much as some of the others, but I think that's what I'm going to bring with me. So we played on it, and so I have some thoughts, but I don't know if we want to just jump into that directly or talk a little bit just about the game. Where do we want to go first, Tom?
I was thinking kind of just breaking down the pack itself, and then then we can give some thoughts after the fact of like how we feel about it and everything like that. So yeah. So I mean, overall, I mean, I'm excited that we finally have a second mission pack. I'm pretty excited about that. It's like I know that there's a lot of people that have been grumbling. Not a lot of people. There's been grumbling of the game being stale because it's only got the one mission pack. So I'm excited for it. I mean, I like this one. It's like they said, they call it the Death Donut. That's what they've nicknamed it, and that's a fair analysis of it. I mean, so you have at this point in time we have 7 points on this one instead of the 9. You got 2 in the back, 2 in the front, and then the standard 3 in the middle that we've always seen. The really cool thing that comes with this one though is, based off of the mission card that comes up, you have that activated ability that's built into each individual character when you start out with. So I think that's pretty cool. I mean, it's the normal play style of everything like that, other than each character is going to have their own individual abilities. I mean, like when they have his own on activation ability, which is pretty exciting in and of itself. I mean, it's again, you can only have one ability per triggering event. So if you have a primary or a secondary that has a triggering event like that as well, you're not going to be able to double dip and use both of them. But I like that the people that don't have it are going to have a little bit of extra utility that comes with this particular mission.
Yeah, the thing that I like about this idea where you're is so to specify whenever you activate a unit with your Shatterpoint card, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to gain ability from whichever mission you are on, and there's three, and for all three struggles, the three abilities are the same. So it's only three abilities that you have to keep track of. But it definitely made for more interesting decision because it feels like up until now, basically whenever you get your Shatterpoint card, you're either activating a primary or maybe a secondary if they've got a really good on activation or you need their ability. Like that's usually what you're doing with your Shatterpoint card is you're trying to activate your strongest unit unless there's a very specific scenario where like if you activate this supporting unit, take this point and you win the game. Okay, fine. Yeah, you might you might do that instead. But now as my stepson pointed out, he's like, oh, like for example, one of the abilities is press forward. At the start of this unit's activation, each character in this unit may dash. He was all on, well, why wouldn't you want to Shatterpoint your supporting character? Because then you're going to get to move two different characters, and usually they don't have on activations. I don't think. Is there a single supporting character that has an
Not
on
that I can think
activation?
of.
Yeah, I can't think of off the top of my head, but I don't think so. So, it actually is going to make for more varied gameplay.
Correct.
Was my first thought. Well, I guess it was his first thought. I didn't have that thought. He did.
Yeah. I mean, and it's very cool. I mean, so and you talked about the press forward one. There's also two other ones. The one is stick to the plan. So at the start of the unit's activation, you get to refresh a force. Or there's also another. The third one is regroup. At the start of the unit's activation, it may remove two damage or one condition from itself. All these are really powerful on activation abilities. So it's really cool that we're getting to see all three of these that are like coming out right off the grip.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say the only one that I'm a little bit disappointed in is the regroup one because I wish it was just heal two. Because just from the one, and again, I have exactly one game of experience with these, so obviously not not a whole lot of knowledge yet. But it did feel like there was a couple of times where we were on the regroup. I think it was the second struggle,
Okay.
and if it had been a heal, like just heal two, it would have been awesome. But because it was just remove two damage or one condition, a lot of times you didn't get to use that on activation because the character you wanted to shatter point isn't the one who was damaged. So and again, one game. Not saying that that's going to be bad, but there's definitely going to be situations. Even when we had press forward, which I think was struggle three, like we didn't use it. Neither of us used it because at that point everybody was contesting objectives and we weren't really moving a lot on the board. We were in the fighty place.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where we were at. So it's definitely not going to be like every time you're amazed that your Shatterpoint card's getting this extra ability. It really is going to be dependent on the exact landscape of the fight.
Yeah, makes sense. It definitely makes sense. I totally agree with that. I like I said, I think that it adds to the decisions that you make of, oh, I can if I activate this support or this secondary instead of the my primary that I normally activate, I can take advantage of this ability or something along those lines. So it's like you said, getting some additional movement out of a unit that you normally wouldn't if you were using like the what was the name of that one? The press forward ability. So I mean, it's nice that you could get some different utility in different ways. So I definitely like that. It is definitely pretty interesting. The one thing that jumped out at me like right off the bat when you're looking at struggle one, I mean, outside of the fact that you have those three different abilities, it's the same layout no matter what on struggle one. You have that death donut where it's basically the two front, the two back, and then the two sides are the all activated. So now instead of having four activated locations on your during the fight, now you're going with a total of six. So I think they did struggle one feel like it goes a little bit faster for you?
So that was the thing. So it did go a little faster. It was a little faster because there was more objectives, and you basically start with 2 points now instead of one. So you're immediately you have control of those two objectives. But it was also it was a little weird, the transition from struggle one to struggle two. We've talked about this where you at some point you realize you're going to lose the struggle and you have to go into the next struggle, and you know, getting ahead of myself, in the second and third struggle there's still only 3 points that are active. But because there were 6 points that we were fighting over, yeah, the first struggle went faster, but we were spread out more. So what happened was is the second struggle took longer because you had to move your units more to get them into the struggle. And like I said, we had the, what was it, the damage one, I'm already forgetting the names of them. Regroup. We had the regroup ability. I think if we had gotten the dash ability, that might have not happened.
Fair
So
enough. Yeah.
that's something to look at, which was just kind of weird. Like, I mean, I did do like one good thing. I knew the center objective was likely to come up in the second struggle because it's on two of the three cards. So I did position. Who was it? Was it Maul? I don't remember, but I was able to position on a point that was like pretty good for me, and made things difficult for Perrin, although he did ultimately win the second struggle. But it just the second struggle felt more even, which I
Nice.
don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but Perrin had to really work for that second struggle. It was not a slam dunk like, nope, I'm gonna take the second struggle because you won the first struggle kind of thing. So and again, that his dice were also, there was one Dooku activation where he did 0 damage with Dooku.
That's awful.
Wow. Like he was facing off against the Night Sister acolytes, and they already had like 4 damage on them. And he was just finishing them off with Dooku because Dooku was already there, and he did 0 damage. So so some of this could have been just really bad dice. Like, I've never seen that bad of dice on a Dooku before. I mean, like, he has crits all over the place. Like, you would
Right.
think like one expertise or just one crit. Like, he didn't need to do that much damage. But so some of this, again, first game impressions, but dice still did dice things too.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. So I know you just said you didn't really play any of the gunline type of units yet. I did practice with the Grand Army of the Republic with clones on this one, and I will say it did feel better to me being able to have them have on 2 points and being able to stay back and kind of do the gunline thing that you want to do. I don't know, did Perrin have a chance to sit there and try and do any of the gunline shenanigans, like basically like keeping his droids back, shooting from range, but still holding those back 2 points? Was that he trying to use that strategy or no?
Yeah, so he kept so Kraken and the B2s he kept back behind the midline. And who was on his other objective? It wasn't Dooku. Oh, he did make an early mistake, and I tried to warn him. He activated Magna Guards first, and that's who he put on the back point. And I was like, hey, I like you wanna reserve them because of their ability. Like, you wanna move them with Duke. Like, when you move Dooku, he's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, and yeah, it was not fine. So there was also that mistake. So he had the Magna Guards on the back point, which was a problem. That was also a problem for him.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was a little bit of difficulty. So he did do that on the other side with the Ahsoka team was Kraken and the B2s, because I wanted to see how they played as opposed to Kalani and the B1s, because I've played with Kalani and the B1s before, and I hadn't really played with Kraken and the B2s. So he did do the gunline thing with the Kraken and the B2s, and yeah, it was obnoxious. I went out of my way to double wound the B2s over the course of that game because of how obnoxious it was.
Yeah, I mean
So
them being
I think you've got something there.
yeah, no, definitely like them being able to sit on the back line. One, they have steadfast and protection when they're contesting. So, just sitting them back there, being able to do gun line things that they can do, and just kind of sitting back shooting. I mean, and you should be able to hopefully do the same thing with your clones as well. I mean, that was, like I said, limited testing because we've only had this pack out for a little bit of time, but it did feel like I was able to kind of utilize some of that same strategy. So I'm hoping that this is going to be something to help the clones and that just the Galactic Republic strategies in general, because they need something to help them out. And
Yeah.
hopefully this will
Yeah,
do it.
and the only reason I didn't get to do the gunline thing, like that was my plan with the Night Sister acolytes and who did I have? The Clan Crease Mandos. But
Mhm.
I had these awkward activations of I don't know what it is about OB2 wanting to be my first activation every single game. But I keep flipping over him and I'm like, okay, fine, reserve him. I don't want to use him first, obviously. And then I flipped over in order uh the acolytes and then the clan Kreese Mandos, and I'm like, no, I don't want to send them up. But I mean, you do what you have to do. So that was where my order deck kind of didn't allow me. My original plan was okay. I'm gonna leave the clan Kreese Mandos and the Night Sister acolytes on the back line. I'm gonna move the beaters up. Yeah, instead the Mandos got wounded by Ahsoka because they were on the. I'm trying to think of how we're doing this. The middle left point on my side, and the acolytes were on the middle right point. And basically, the only reason my acolytes didn't get wounded is because Dooku didn't do dice things. Otherwise, they should have gotten wounded. So I mean, there was a little bit of luck on why I was able to hold one objective for a while. Dooku eventually shoved him off, or maybe it was Django. I don't remember. He eventually got him off the point, but it was difficult for him,
Sounds like it.
which
Sounds
should
like
not
it.
have been the case.
Nice. So I mean, it sounds like you're pretty much a fan of the Death Donut and Struggle One that we have here. Looking at
Yeah.
Struggle Two, we're kind of going back to what we traditionally have seen in struggle with the first mission pack that we got, where you have three different cards at three different points, and whoever lost struggle one gets to choose whether they get to use one or the other. For the most part, they're pretty much down the middle with like on two of the cards, so it's really just a down the middle thing. There's just one card that kind of uses one of the outside points on the middle line right there. Other than that, it's kind of a down the middle fight. You're like 66% of the time, two out of the three cards are going to be a down the middle type of a fight.
Yeah. And now that I think about it, I remember now. I had them mixed up. We had the regroup on the first struggle. We had secure the exits. Then on the second struggle, we had stick to the plan,
Okay.
which that ended up being awkward. Or no, it wasn't stick to the plan. We must have had. Oh, terrible, terrible. I should have written this down. Anyway, no, I guess we had the dash one, but weirdly we didn't use the dash very often. Um,
I mean,
but
it can only
this
come
was
up a couple
tough.
times, so I mean, with the Shatterpoint card anyway.
Right,
So
right. The Shatterpoint card, you're only using it once. That's kind of my general point is if anybody was thinking that these abilities were gonna suddenly swing the game dramatically, no. No. They come up maybe once during a struggle, and half the time you don't even want to use the ability because you're either activating somebody with a better on activation or you just don't need it because the situation doesn't call for it. That's what I was surprised. But again, this is one game. One game. I'm not a like we need more data.
yeah, and I think we have the our next week our premiere event for our league is closing out for our Shatterpoint League at our LGS, and they're doing an end of league tournament, which actually everyone's invited to. So even if you're local to Arizona, Imperial Outpost next week we're going to be having a Premier Showdown event. So definitely come out and play out there. So definitely, but it's a if I think with this one, I mean, we're going to be seeing. I'm assuming we're going to be seeing this a lot more just because people are going to want to play something different. So I think we'll be getting a better feel for it after that event for sure.
Yes, yes. And in the case of our game, there was the thing where the card came up and there weren't good options. Like I said, I had Maul on the middle point already. I had somebody still, I think it was Mother Talzin, was on the back point, and he had Kraken on his rear point, but that ended up being the best option because if he picked the other one, then he had no one on that point because the Magna Guards had moved forward with Dooku,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and I had no one on the other back point. But obviously, I still had units there. I could have just scooted over if I had to.
Yeah.
So his options were to have start with 0 points or start with, well, no, 0 to 1 points versus 1 to 2. And he was like, no, I want to make the fight be about where other people are, try and get wounds. And I mean, he did win that one, so ended up being the right call. But it was
Yeah.
a tough. He was fighting from the back. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you should, if you are positioning wisely in struggle one and controlling those back 2 points the entire time, no matter what, should have at least 1 point going in because a back point and a front point are always going to be active on those, no matter what. So you should at least be, and I think that's going to help to keep the struggle like a tighter game from the get go, simply because of that. Because you're going to automatically be on 1 point no matter what. Or at least you
Yeah,
should be.
yeah. Right, right. Again, like I said, there was kind of that early Magna Guard activation. I tried, Todd. I tried.
I mean,
It's all
and
right.
he has
He was like, you didn't tell me until after I had moved, and I was like, it was your first activation. You could have moved back, and I'm like, he gets in his head.
he
It's all
does.
right. We're both anxious babies.
And he hasn't played. He's kind of taken a break from the game for a little while. It seems like too. So it's yeah. I mean, we've been practicing and playing a lot more lately, and he has not been playing as much. And so there's those things kind of jump into there as well. But I mean, overall, how do you feel about Struggle 2? Like the chance that you got to play with it. I mean, it's pretty much kind of on par with what we've seen from Struggle 2 in the previous mission pack.
Yeah, I am interested because two of them are very similar. It's basically just a curve through the middle. I really want to play on specifically they're jamming our comms because that one the points are spread out just enough that I think it's going to make Struggle 2 feel a lot different. So that's where I especially want to see. Otherwise, I find it very interesting that they made Struggle 1 all the points except for
Yeah,
the middle. And then Struggle 2, it's kind of the same as the other mission pack except for this one card.
exactly.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's a little different, but I guess I'm just surprised. This did not feel like a dramatic difference. It was enough of a difference to make the game interesting, but I was expecting it to really shake things up. And I don't know. Again, one game, Todd. It's early days.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't think it's going to be a giant shakeup. I don't think we're going to get anything that's going to be a giant shakeup. I think it's like you said. I think it's going to make subtle changes that are going to make it feel a little bit different. Like I said, I like the fact that it's adding a little bit of variety. It's a little bit something different. Although I don't agree with a lot of people that are out there saying, "Well, it's so boring because we only have the one mission pack." It's like there's so many different variations of that mission that like it's and there's so much variance that comes with the mission or with the order deck and the dice that every game kind of feels different anyway. So it's I don't like I said I don't know if I 100% agree with some of the grumblings that are out there. I am very happy to have the second mission pack. I think it's something new, something fun to add to it. I mean, we always like our new shiny toys, especially when it comes to miniature gaming. So it's a new shiny toy that we like to play with. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it. I think it's like you said, it feels a little the same old with this particular mission pack. If there's not, and like I said, there's those two right down the middle that feel very similar anyway from the couple games that I've tested. But going on to mission 3, this one's pretty interesting now. So this one's very spread out. One of the things that immediately jumps out to me is there's no choices here. You get one. There's only one choice per card here, and they're either straight down the middle where you get that the three middle points are lit up, or it's basically two in the back that are across from one another and one on the middle that's all the way to the side. So it's either very spread out or right down the center.
Yeah, and of course, for us to test to try and get a feel for these cards, we got the one down the middle,
Hmm.
which we've already played that. We already kind of know how it plays out. In fact, I thought like Perrin almost took struggle 3 because that ended up being very lucky for him because I knew it was 1 out of 3 options, so I was kind of keeping because 2 of the 3 options, like you said, are very spread out. So I was kind of like splitting the difference. Like I had some of my units in between the back and middle points, and some of my units in between because I just I wasn't positioned great for struggle 3, so I was kind of trying to split the difference, and he ended up taking 2 of the 3 points immediately because it was that center line, and I was like, okay. So I started struggle 3 from the back foot, and then I had to really fight. I mean, struggle 3 literally came down to I had 4 cards in my order deck. It was our third shuffle through because again we struggle 2 took longer than it normally does. Like
Hmm.
like I'm used to sometimes 2 activations and struggle 2 is done.
Yeah.
Right? That can happen sometimes. This is not how that struggle 2 went. So I had 4 cards left in my deck. Shatterpoint card already activated. I had to draw Maul to win. 1 in 4 chance. If I drew Maul, because what I had to do is I eventually took 2 of the points back from him, but he was on the third point. And I needed, in order for him to not win, I had to take that point and wound a character. And the only person in a position to do that was Maul. So I flipped over Maul, won on the spot.
Nice.
So I mean, the dice still could have done badly. I mean, they're but I mean, it's Maul, and he had a lot of damage on him, so I was rolling a lot of dice. Like he was injured too. Like I was rolling a lot of dice, but I did everything I was able to do. So I don't know if that felt more like the nature of our struggle than anything to do with the mission pack,
Yeah.
because we were basically just running get to the hangar bay, and it's that standard, across. But I am excited. I really think Signal the Transport and Find the Escape Tunnel, those 2 cards, I think those are going to be a lot more interesting because in theory, 2 of those points might be ones that you were already contesting in Struggle 2. But if you
Potentially, yeah.
get the opposite card, then you have to like scoot everybody like, all right, everyone, let's go this way.
Yeah, it's I like the fact that you don't have a choice in this one because I think struggle
Mhm.
3 in the last one it was like, well, if you won one, whoever wins one usually loses two, but then you have the choice of on struggle 3, and it made it a little bit, it was in your favor to win the third struggle, and I think this takes a little bit of that out of it because I've played all three, I think, because I I I juiced it and just kind of played the ones anyway, like I to like just test it out. But I like the spread out ones definitely. I mean the down the middle one, that all three of the center objectives being lit up. It's, I mean, you and I have played a game with that, and it's like I've 1 and 2 struggles with that. If you can just end up doing it, or in 2 activations, I should say. So I'm not a big fan of that one, but that's one where you definitely just have to plan accordingly, I guess, for something along those lines. But yeah, those two that are spread out, the find the escape tunnel and the signal to transport, those two are fun. They and you can, and I don't think you can plan as easily for these as well, because there's only what 2 points that cross over really, like either the outside ones you might light up for 2 of the 3, and that's it, and then the rest of them are completely different points. So there's not a lot, like, you really cannot gamble on, okay, I'm going to move to this point and hope that I get it. There's not as much crossover. Like normally it was like, oh, I know that this middle point's going to light up. Well, not this time, not so much. It's like you might get that one outside on the right or that one outside on the left, and that's the only crossover that there is, and it's not much.
Yeah, and now that I look back at the Struggle 2 and compare him to Struggle 3, it could end up in your favor, but it's going to be really depend, like there might be one point that you get and one point that you don't get, and I don't know. I think I like that it's more even.
Mm-hmm.
Although this begs the question, are people going to go back to the first mission pack just because if they have a squad that's really aggressive and they know they can win Struggle 1, or at least have an advantage to win Struggle 1, are they going to go back to the first mission pack because it gives you a little bit of a boost because of
Probably.
what we're talking about,
Probably. I
right?
mean, I don't know if this one plays better into like the Vader Grievous aggro list that we see, where it's just like I'm going to go and just murder everything around. I don't know if this is really that. I don't think this plays into it. It sure it does on the first struggle, where it's just everybody's just fighting over those points and everything like that. So, but after that, you kind of get spread out a little bit, and I don't know if it's going to be if this is a better mission pack for them or not. So that's going to be one of those interesting things to see how this kind of plays out for sure. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I'm wondering, and again, need more time with them. But to borrow some magic terminology, are we going to end up with an aggro, mid-range, and control mission pack?
Probably.
Like
I mean, that'd be pretty
that
cool.
seems interesting to me if that's where we end up. I mean, I'm not the game designer. Who knows what the third mission pack's going to be, but that's uh that's interesting if that's where we're going with this.
Yeah, I think for the funny thing is, I think for the premiere event, I'm probably going to end up just bringing the first mission pack, just because I think everyone's going to be bringing the second mission pack. So it's like I'm just going to throw a curveball in there, you know.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing I'm thinking about. So, generally speaking, the stores set up the terrain for us, set up the map, but now are you going to set up the map for both missions in mind? Because you don't know what people, first player gets to, right? As first player gets to pick. I gotta think about
Yes.
this rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, so first player gets to pick which mission you're on. That's that's already throwing a wrinkle in my tournament prep. You can show up and you lose that dice roll, and you're the aggro player. You're bringing the original, and they're like, nah, we doing Death Donut today.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. I mean, I know Alan's going to be the one running the tournament. I know he listens to our podcast anyway, so I'm sure he'll sit there and be like, "Oh, well, now I got to think about that." So,
Right, because so talking about a little bit about terrain setup, and I got to get these pictures up on Twitter because I actually really liked the setup we did,
mhm.
because I have the some of the fractured city terrain, and so like I tried to create this like alleyway, right, where if you got pushed off of a building, you ended up in this narrow space that you would have to navigate through, and the thing is we knew we were testing the mission pack, so I set up the terrain with the mission pack in mind. But now that I think about it, if it had been the other mission, like say I set up the whole table with this one in mind, and now it's the other mission, oh, that's gonna create some headaches, I think. Oh boy.
Well, it's a nice little
Whew.
puzzle there. It's like now you really have to think about setting up your terrain in a way that's conducive for either 3 points on the front and back or 2 points on the front and back, because you're still going to have those three in the middle. I mean, that's still going to be the same, but
Yeah.
your terrain setup is going to have to be maybe addressed a little differently for now, which will be kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's gonna be because up until this point, like even in our league games and stuff, we've just been putting out the markers beforehand, putting out the terrain, and everybody knows it's the same one. So it's like, all right, you take half the terrain, put it where it makes sense. But now it's gonna have to make sense for everything, huh?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah, it's a very different. I mean, for people that play like Marvel Crisis Protocol or something along those lines, it's very different because like Marvel Crisis Protocol, you don't have to worry about like elevations as much because you just most of the time like everybody has stuff that just throws terrain at each other and the terrain leaves the game anyway. So but with this, it's very you really have to think about where is the elevation going to be in relation to some of these activated points when you're setting up your terrain, and now you have to think about two different types of map layouts for that.
Oh,
Oh,
Todd. What if we
moment
get the
clarity.
ability to, yeah, what if we get the ability to like force push and pull or blow up buildings? We're gonna have movable terrain. Sorry, I'm trying to do a crossover event here between MCP and Shatterpoint.
Well, I
Like,
mean,
I just want to force chuck a building at somebody now. All right.
anything
That's
is
totally off
possible.
topic. Sorry, everyone.
No, I mean,
I scrolled for a minute there.
oh no, I mean it's so one of the funny things like so if you look at like MCP World, they've started to create terrain that have special rules for in-game play. So, I mean, something like that to come into play for like the Shatterpoint world would be really cool, where it's like this terrain adds this certain thing to gameplay and everything along those lines. Which added that particular piece into on top of having multiple mission packs would definitely be a very cool thing to have.
Oh, I'm game. AMG, I hope you're listening to us. Free idea there. Go for it. That you
Oh,
already thought of. I'm stealing everybody's ideas today. I stole Perrin's idea, now I'm stealing AMG's idea.
and just
Yeah.
rebranding it as
In
your
case
own.
your developers, yeah, in case your developers aren't talking to each other in those meetings, like talk to one another.
No, I'm quite positive that they're probably all are right on par with one another. But no, I mean overall, I mean I really like this mission pack. I think it's going to bring a lot of just some more variance to the game. And like I said, I really think it's going to help other strategies play it, help them out more. Like I said, what do you think though? Do you think this is going to be something that's going to help some of those armies that are kind of fallen to the wayside and not performing as well? Do you think this is something that's going to give them a little booster now?
I mean, I hope so. I would like to think so. I definitely feel like now you have a place for where you want your clone troopers to be, for example, or even like I'm a big fan of the Dathomirian box right now, and so I'm playing the Night Sister acolytes a lot. But they're squishy. They're when I say they're better clones, that's more speaking to how bad the clones are, not that the acolytes are very good. Like, let's be real. I'm bringing them because I like the Dathomirian synergies and the coordinated fire expose, but I would like to keep them in the back, and now I have a reason to keep them in the back. So it sounds like I'm probably going to be one of the people with the new shiny toy because I liked at least it didn't work out in my game, but I liked having the option of keeping them in the back. Now, if I could just all I want for next weekend, Todd, is no OB2 on top of my deck and not both of my supporters back to back. Please, that's all I want.
Yeah, no, like sometimes the order deck just does not want to be your friend at all and just wants to throw you curveballs for sure. So I think I think we all deal with that from time to time where it's just like you have something in reserve already and like, okay, I have three options and I don't want this one and I got the one I don't want. Great. We've all had those
Hey, I
moments.
can't complain. I had a 1 in 4 shot to get Maul, and that won me the game against Perrin. So, hey. You know what Perrin said? Perrin was like, "Well, you picked out this list for me anyway, so you lost too."
I like how he puts his own spin on things. That's amazing. That's quite amazing. So it's you're the one who built this list, so you lost. Really, I mean, I might have piloted it, but it's really your fault. So I like that. I like that. I'll
Yeah,
have to take that
yeah.
one. Parent-isms are amazing. Yeah, no. So I mean, overall, like I
Hmm.
said, I like this pack. I think it's very. This is going to be one of those things where I think you might need to start looking at, okay, well, I'm going to build maybe one strike team that's going to be able to play on this, that plays better on this particular mission pack, and another strike force that plays better on the other mission pack. you play, you have a Republic strike force, and then you have like a Vader Grievous or something else aggro strike force type of a thing, and go with those two and see how, and just hedge your bets one way or the other for the two different, through the two different lists, and like this is for this particular mission, but it's again like I know at mission on the first mission pack, a lot of times it was okay. I have like a Vader Grievous list, and they're pretty. They don't have a lot of vertical movement, so I would have my other movement that would, or another strike force that would be able to take advantage of the weaknesses that they had and stuff like that. So it's like now, I mean, now you're adding this other wrinkle into it where it's like, well, which weaknesses are you really going to be wanting to exploit, not exploit when it comes to these two different things, and which ones are you okay with, which ones are you not okay with, type of a thing. So it'll be interesting to see, especially in a premiere format, how all of this is going to come together.
Yeah, I definitely think we're gonna have an experience next weekend. I don't know. I don't go into these things with a lot of expectations. I'm still very new to, you know, tabletop in general and, uh, movement and all of these things. So I'm going in just we're gonna learn. We're gonna learn and we're gonna see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things, like when if we're any game, and it's like usually, I mean, that I've had to kind of refocus myself as of late, just to with playing, where it's like, okay, I'm not worried about winning. Let's just play clean. Like, make sure that we're not missing triggers. Make sure that I'm really thinking about how I'm placing and how my placement is going to impact, your future activations, my future activations, and I think that's, especially as new as this game is, this is still early in the life cycle of this game. It's just only been out for what, 6 months now. We're still, take the time to learn and make good movements. I was watching, oh gosh, on YouTube. There's a couple of different streamers out there now that are streaming some of the TTS stuff, and I'm gonna butcher their name. Give me 1 second to look them up. Great content here, I know, but there's some really good content creators out there right now that are putting out. It's Sydney Sydney City Space Slugs on YouTube. They're a newer channel, and they're based at Sydney City, so they're based out of Australia, and they've been putting out, and they've been streaming a lot of the Shatterpoint stuff. They did the round 5 of Shatterpoint, as well as like the top 8 and 2 of the top 4 matches and the finals. Those, they streamed all those, and then just the other day they streamed round 1, and they put those up on YouTube to view as well, of the newest TTS league. And there's a lot of good, I mean, you can watch and learn a lot just from watching other people play and from their commentary. So the one of the commentators for this last video that came up is Oleg, and he was a top 4 competitor in last year's, or the last TTS league. So made the top cut, finished in the top 4. So definitely you're getting a high quality commentator as well. So I really enjoyed that video, and I think that, like, even just watching that and like, oh yep, there's a mistake that I would have made too, just and like things along those lines. Especially, just they talk about, not in a bad way, but like, here's something that could have been a better move, or here's some of the different moves that you can type of make with these particular units and everything like that. So highly recommend, checking out Sydney City's Space Slugs, their content. It's really good.
Yeah, and I know we keep shouting out the other podcasts. Hopefully by now you're listening to Zion's Finest and Hello There, if nothing else. I mean, there's even more. There's even more of them out there. I try to listen to just about everybody, but they really gave me some good ideas and ways to think differently about some of the supporting units in their latest. They've been working on a tier list of what everything we have out right now, and that's actually why I decided to switch to the Clan Crease Mandalorians to try out. Like, I specifically wanted them for this mission pack because of what they talked about on their latest episode. Nice. So, definitely check them out, because I was pretty high on Mandalorian Super Commandos, but I realized again I wanted to have a little bit more of this like gunline idea, so I switched to the Clan Crease because of course they're the ranged Mandos, exactly. And so. So that definitely, don't just listen to us, listen to everyone.
Exactly. No, and like, I mean, I'm a big fan of like all the content creators out there. Everyone's going to give you different ideas, different things to think about. Might not be exactly right for you, but it might be. I mean, it's funny. Like, I'm a sucker for tier lists anyway, so I'll sit there and listen to those all day long. And I think not only Zion's, but Hello There also jumped into the tier list like category as well. So like I got tier lists for days. So I mean, I'll listen to those all day long and just like breaking down those each individual character and where they rank and everything along those lines is great. It's kind of weird in this game because there's just so much different synergies with different ones. I mean, like you can look at like Django. Yes, he's S tier because he just fits everywhere. But it's like some of them are still, Kalani's still amazing, Kraken's still amazing, but they only have like they're in a very niche unit. They don't go everywhere like Obi2 or like Django can. So no, those are definitely fun to listen to.
Right.
Well, I think that just about covers everything that we want to go over. I mean, it's a little kind of a shorter episode than normal, which is fine for us because, it is a weekend and we got things to do. But no, I mean, I like this new mission pack. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to do a lot more for the game. But as always, I do want to thank everyone for listening, tuning in, either listening to us on the podcast or watching us on YouTube. So if you listen to us on the podcast, please, whatever platform of choice you are listening to us, go ahead and leave us a review. It definitely helps us out. Lets us know if we're doing the right thing or not. If you're watching us on YouTube, as always, leave a comment, hit that like button, go ahead and ring the bell. Let us know that way you can know anytime new content comes out. But as always, thanks for listening, and may the force be with you.
May the force be with you.